First off, you got to learn how to work your goddamn YouTube, sir. It's called dark mode, son.
I don't see color. All right, you guys ready?
That is a lie. You do, because you got two different ones in the fucking corner of your screen, you motherfucker.
He was on his way to becoming one of Hollywood's brightest stars, with acclaim for his dramatic performances and a promising future as a Marvel villain. But now actor Johnathan Majors is facing the possibility of up to a year in jail after a conviction on misdemeanor reckless assault and harassment in connection with an altercation involving his then girlfriend. He sat down exclusively with me for his first interview since his arrest, discussing the relationship at the center of the trial, the role that he says race played, and why he didn't take the stand. Why did you decide you wanted to talk now?
I felt like it was time. A lot has happened in my personal life, in my career, in the culture, and conversely, the impact of this. It's about responsibility and coming forward and being brave and giving my part of the story.
In an ABC News exclusive, actor Johnathan Majors sat down with me in his first interview since a jury handed down a guilty verdict for reckless harassment, a misdemeanor, and a violation of harassment in the second degree.
You know, I haven't seen my daughter in a long time. You know, and a lot of it has to do with this situation. It all has to do with this situation, and she needs to see this, and the hard things need to be done. But it's been hard. You know, everything's kind of gone away.
The 34-year-old actor was a rising star.
This is our family story.
Known for his roles in HBO's Lovecraft Country, Creed 3.
I'm coming for everything.
And Marvel productions like last year's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
You're an interesting man. Scott Lang.
And it was on that movie set back in 2021 where he met 30-year-old British dancer Grace Jabari. The pair dated until March of 2023 when Majors called 911 the day after a fight that was caught on surveillance video.
All right, so I want to do a quick pause there just to kind of get your guys' pre-opinions before we go into like his thoughts. Tato, what knowledge you have of the case, and what is just your current standing opinion on things?
I probably know about as much as anyone else without having gone into reading case files and shit like that. Seems to be a lot of he said, she said. Obviously, there's X amount of video footage and shit like that. Yeah, so it's just rough to say. I don't have, obviously, fucking domestic violence bad. That should obviously go without saying and whatnot. So hopefully that's not what was happening. Seems possible. Seems not good ultimately. But could be again, he said, she said, maybe. I don't know what happened without being there, but so far the interview does seem very damage control-y. He seems, and again, I'm not a fucking psychological expert or anything, but he seems very
rehearsed.
Kind of. What
would you say, like rehearsed, or what do you mean, like just?
Not so much rehearsed, but he's very much trying to think of his words as opposed to just being straight up with the story. And going back to what Jay was saying, thinking about your words before you say them is very important, especially in a situation.
I didn't want to spoil my opinion on it, but since I'd seen this, when Jay mentioned that triggered my memory of I'm ready to talk about this, because later on, whether whatever side you think it is, but there are moments in that where that triggered my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems very much like he's trying not to say the wrong thing as opposed to trying to say the right thing, maybe,
or just saying.
And again,
or just
or just speaking the truth. And again, I could be totally fucking off on that. I don't know the guy. I would like for him to be an awesome guy because I enjoy his fucking performances in those things that previously mentioned. I loved him in Creed. I enjoy him as Kang and shit like that. But I can't just be like, hey, good actor, so he can't be piece of shit, because obviously great actors can be pieces of shit. We've seen it a million times.
Shout out. No, I'm just kidding. Jay, Jay, going into the interview, what are your thoughts on this situation?
So I do know kind of a little bit of what happened here, and I know the results of the court case. He got hit like a 3rd degree or a 4th degree assault charge. That's what he got found guilty of, and that was him injuring her while trying to get out of the car that he was running away from her in. And it wasn't, oh, he beat the shit out of her the way that it was claimed. I feel like this isn't a thing that a lot of people have to go and do. But if you are going to be a major player in like a giant franchise moving forward, even if you've lost that at this point in time, like he's lost Kang in the MCU, but he was supposed to be the big bad for a lot of it. They didn't bring up Loki, which kind of surprises me because he was the big bad. And, anyways, but
television, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. But they brought up Lovecraft Country. But my thing about that is like they're gonna sit here and this is gonna look like damage control for him. And I think this is more about him trying to get his side of the story out, because everybody only seems to see the he got found guilty portion of it and doesn't actually listen to what he got found guilty of. It was just a lot of people online jump to the, oh, he was found guilty, see, he's a fucking woman beater and this is bullshit. No, the motherfucker got found guilty of unintentionally injuring somebody while trying to flee from a position where they were going to ultimately end up being hurt or being the hurt party.
Well, I'll add on to that a little bit, as you'll see in the clip. I don't know if you've seen it at any point, but they're gonna show later where he forces her.
Yeah, I would like to see more before forming more.
I just want to add to going into what you're saying, just to add on to it, just what you're saying. You're not wrong, and I agree with what you're saying, but I just want to add on to it's part of him putting her into the car, which forcible, movements, but not the headlines. Once again, that's why I was talking about with Kat. This interview going into this, it's one of those where it's like, it's just to rewrite the headlines. Now, because think about it. When you go to a YouTube title, newspaper, TV show, news headline, whatever, headlines are what, how many people are listening to the story, how many people are reading headlines? 100 to 1. 100 to 1 people are looking at the headlines, not reading the story. And I feel like he's trying to change the headline. So let's continue.
Yeah.
What happened exactly? Do you know?
No, I don't know. But she's unconscious. She's my ex-partner. We broke up. I came back. She sent me text messages insinuating as much. I stayed in a hotel last night. I came home this morning.
Police found Jabari on the closet floor of their apartment. Majors was arrested by New York City police, accused by Jabari of assault, strangulation, and harassment, convicted last month, but acquitted of 1 count of assault and 1 count of aggravated harassment, meaning the jury didn't believe he assaulted her intentionally. Your reaction to that verdict?
Shock. I was absolutely shocked, and afraid. I'm standing there, and the verdict comes down. I say, how is that possible? Based off the evidence, based off the prosecution's evidence, let alone our evidence. How is that possible?
After the verdict, in a statement, Jabari's attorney wrote in part, "Justice was finally served today, proving that the truth can prevail even in the face of power. Grace did not choose to be in this situation. Grace has been publicly attacked as a result of her courage to testify to the truth, but her unwavering resolve to see this case through to the end was born out of her desire to give other survivors similar courage when justice requires." The prosecution has described your relationship with Grace Jabari as tumultuous and abusive. How would you describe that to your relationship?
I love Grace. Our relationship was, it was not healthy, and that began to reveal itself over time, but there was no abuse.
In court, Jabari claimed she sustained head injuries, but never said how she received them. Entered into evidence these partially redacted text messages from September of 2022. Majors writes, "It's just fake. And I fear you have no perspective of what could happen if you go to the hospital. They will ask you questions. And as I don't think you actually protect us, it could lead to an investigation, even if you do lie and they suspect something. Jabari responds in part, I will tell the doctor I bumped my head. If I go, I'm going to give it one more day, but I can't sleep and I need some stronger painkillers. That's all. Why would I want to tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you?
This is literally a nightmare. I don't know what happened. I don't know what injuries you're talking about.
The July incident, 2022, where she says you started throwing things, including a candle. Tell us what happened there.
You know, we were in an argument. I was on the other side of the room, away from her, as I think she testified. And by my bedside table, I did a sweep, and I knocked over my candles. I completely lost my temper in that moment and threw it all on the ground. What she also said is that afterwards I wept and cried in the corner and said I was sorry and this. And I was, and I am.
The prosecution said you allegedly wrote, I'm a monster, a horrible man, not capable of love. I'm killing myself soon. I've already put things in motion. Were you suicidal?
I've been diagnosed with severe depression, and I'm taking the steps needed to alleviate, some of those symptoms, ideations of removing myself from situations permanently is a thought that I've had, since I was a kid.
It all came to a head in March of last year when Jabari and Majors got into a fight, much of it captured on surveillance video and used as evidence in the trial. Jabari testified that it all began when Majors received a text from another woman. He says it read, "Oh, how I wish to be kissing you." So let's go back to March 25th for a moment. You and then girlfriend Grace Jabari are in the backseat of a chauffeured car. She sees a text from another woman. Things seem to spiral from there.
Yeah.
What happened next?
Yeah, the text from another woman. Again, I said at the beginning, I did that. I cop to it. I show her, right? It's in my hand. She grabs it. We scuffle for the phone. I pull the phone back. I receive my injuries. I open the door. I step out. She comes. Then one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I pick her up. I put her back in the car. I'm trying to get rid of her. I'm trying to get away from her. As the video shows, everything calms. We get out. We walk across the street. I escort her across the street. The moment we get across the street, she grabs me. She goes for the phone. I release. I get free of her and I run.
For blocks?
Yeah, for blocks.
Surveillance video also shows Jabari talking to three strangers. She testified they offered to get her home. One of the bystanders can be seen speaking to Majors, who gestures for Jabari to get back into the car. He eventually leaves without her and goes to a hotel for the night. Jabari leaves with the bystanders. She says inside the car, you hit her in the face,
Yeah.
twist her arm behind her back, fracture her middle finger.
Yeah, that did not happen.
What happened?
She went to grab the phone. I held the phone. I pulled the phone back. She came on top of me, squeezed my face, slapped me. That's all I remember.
So she ends up with a 1-inch cut behind her ear.
Laceration, yes, ma'am.
Fractured finger.
Yeah.
How did those injuries come about?
I wish to God I knew. That would give clarity. That would give me some type of peace about it.
But you're confident you didn't.
I have no question.
What's interesting about the jury's verdict, it's so nuanced because they're saying you didn't intend to injure her.
Right.
But the result of your recklessness injured her.
Right.
Were you reckless?
I was reckless with her heart.
Not with her body.
Not with her body.
But never hit a woman.
Never hit a woman. My hands have never struck a woman, ever. When the actual testimony came, the judge said, She did everything, meaning Grace.
That
He did
was
nothing,
careful phrasing. I will admit
referring
that.
to myself.
Yeah.
Majors claims Jabari attacked him, ripping his coat, scratching his face and arm. These are photos he says are of his injuries, but were deemed inadmissible in court.
My injuries were a scratch on my hand, from clawing for the phone, and I had a gash on my. At the time, I had a beard. Under my beard, I had essentially a fingernail scratch on my I guess my cheek from pressure.
You chose not to take the witness stand.
Yes,
Why?
ma'am. The driver.
You felt that was compelling enough. He had said enough.
Well, not just the driver. She was doing everything, he was doing nothing. Well, that's what I was going to say. Mr. Majors, did you see any injuries on her? No, I didn't. Clinical experts, the detectives I spoke to, all who testified before I did. But after all of that, what was I going to add?
Johnathan, how do you feel During the trial, an audio recording was presented in court by the prosecution of Johnathan Majors and Grace Jabari during an argument.
How dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house? Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama. Barack Obama's wife. My temper, my shit, my travel, blah, all that said, right? And I'm not saying I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. The woman that supports me, that I support, that needs to be a great woman.
There are some who question, especially in the Black community, as you're probably well aware, that people were saying, well, why was he telling this woman to be like Coretta Scott King
Right.
and Michelle Obama? Give
Right.
us like the context of the conversation.
It was me trying to give an analogy of what it is I'm aspiring to be. These great men, Martin, President Obama, and trying to give a reference point to that. I was attempting, and I did a terrible job at it, apparently. I was attempting to motivate, to enlighten, to give perspective as into what it is I was hoping to get out of the relationship. I think that's fair.
In her closing argument, your attorney said that your greatest fear of being a Black man in America calling 911 came true, suggesting that race was a part of this. Do you feel that race is a part of this?
Yeah, of course it is, without question. That quote unquote guilty verdict, guilty verdict, no quote unquote, you might as well put that on my birth certificate.
You think a white man facing the same allegations would have been arrested, charged, convicted?
I'll take it further. If you watch those videos and you reverse that, and you saw a Black man chasing a young white girl down the street, screaming and crying, that man is going to be shot and killed in the streets of New York City. That Black man will feel that.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office responded saying in part that they do their speaking in court. Jabari's attorney responded to this interview saying it is not at all surprising that Mr. Majors continues to take no accountability for his actions. His denigration of our jury system is not dissimilar from the above-the-law attitude that he has maintained throughout this legal process. The timing of these new statements demonstrates a clear lack of remorse for the actions for which he was found guilty and should make the sentencing decisions fairly easy for the court. Ms. Jabari will continue to speak the truth and seek justice in the appropriate forums in a continued effort to respect our legal process. Grace, as you know, was arrested and charged for assault, but will not face prosecution.
Right.
You have thoughts on that?
That's hurtful. That's really hurtful. And
pause real fast.
And why is it hurtful? Because
how are you gonna be found? Like, how are you gonna get charged with something and then not get any sort of sentence? Like, yeah, if Majors gets that's one thing. But this we're getting into this whole area at this point in time where it kind of seems like
A double standard.
well, no, like we're getting the Amber Heard territory
Yeah.
at this fucking point, and I'm starting to just get uncomfortable with the way that the other like the defendant the prosecuting lawyer is coming out with their fucking statement. It
Painting a
just
narrative.
seems
Like, just
yeah,
because he's not admitting that he's guilty, clearly he's guilty.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's like,
because he doesn't say X means Y and Z are fucking absolutely true. So like I understand why he is being selective in the way that he is crafting his statement here. But that seems like honestly, it seems like a very big reach, but it also seems like he's not wrong. He would have been shot.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
And even the analogy he was talking about with Coretta Scott and Michelle Obama, I've watched a few reactions to this, and a lot of people have informed me like the Coretta Scott thing. They all think that that's an interesting analogy because Martin Luther King had multiple affairs and he was around, and that's kind of his point. It was like, because I guess the whole backstory of this is essentially that he wanted to sleep around, and that caused all their tension and their drama. And that's what's I think there's someone said at one point, but there's two different sides or two different like extensions of this. Is like, you can be a terrible man and you can be a terrible husband. That doesn't mean you're an abuser. And I feel like that this is a scenario where it's like, if someone hits you, you might accidentally reflex or whatever. And once again, I mentioned at the very top where it's like putting her in, and then he mentioned it, putting her in the car, that's always going to be the worst look because you physically have your hands on her. There's no, regardless of the damage, that narrative is painted.
But it's not like he Ray Lewis anybody. It's not
no, absolutely.
Like,
but I'm saying from a
no, absolutely,
perspective and their inability, and this is I hate bringing movie Battleground into this, but it's like in debate, if a narrative is in a jury's a judge's mind, it's hard for them to think otherwise, regardless of the other facts and your other points. Yeah. So the fact that he physically put his hands on her, he didn't strike her, which is why I said that was a purposeful phrasing. He didn't strike her, but he did put his hands on her. So the fact that there was physical evidence that he put his hands on her, it was hard for the jury to say, well, you put your hands on her at one point, so I assume you probably did it again, and she has scratches. So the odds of it being from something else, I don't believe that. So it had to be you. But we can't prove it, so we can't say you.
But the other weird part on that one is they accept all of the pictures of what happened to her, but none of the pictures that happened to him.
That's the one.
And I think I think the only thing that really matters at that point in time is the fact that it was somebody else who took the pictures of her, and it was probably somebody in like a position of power, not like a position of power over this case, but it was probably like law enforcement. Exactly.
Yes. That's what they said when they came to the apartment. And they found her unconscious. They took the pictures then, and then that's just whatever. But at the end of the day, allegedly, Johnathan came home and found her like that. So maybe at some point, he never denied that it happened from her, or he denied the fingers. So technically, he said, "Yeah, I have no idea." So that's the gray area where it's like no one knows. But with that said, that's reasonable doubt, right? But you automatically throw away his pictures and his tangible evidence of cuts.
Amber Heard still didn't get charged, even though she fucking called Johnny Depp out and was like, "Oh yeah, call the police, let them know that I slapped you." I'm not trying to take away from this. I'm trying to like
add to it,
bridge the fucking gap between it, because Johnathan Majors did almost everything correct in this situation, and is still getting.
I actually like that he. Whether it's on purpose, whether it's a PR move or whatever, but I do really like the fact that this interview isn't perfect, because it doesn't feel like you're just saying the right thing.
Like he's just getting fed lines.
Yeah, I do feel like there are a few answers that he says. I don't know if we've gotten to the point yet, or like or like when he asked her, he's like, did you hurt her? And he's like, I hurt her emotionally.
Yeah, I hurt her heart.
He technically didn't say no, I never hurt her. He answered later and said he never put a hands on a woman. But once again, just avoided.
I never struck. Oh,
Yeah.
I never went fucking.
His hands
I
have
never
hit
treated a
woman.
woman like Donnie fucking Creed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but at the exact same point in time, when you watch the video of him running away after they've walked across the street, he is quite clearly trying to get out of her grasp, and she is not letting go.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody's first response is, "Oh, she's not letting go. Let me stop." In a situation where I don't want to be.
I bet you at some point there are clips of that when they're across the street and he yanks away from her. It looks like he like pulls her arm. If you could probably put yourself in that mindset of, oh, he's yanking her arm and then running away and she just didn't follow him type of deal. And then he's running away because maybe someone you know what I mean? There's ways that all this BS can be. Once again,
I escorted her across the street.
Well,
is phrasing.
But that's the thing I'm
But,
talking
I mean,
about.
They did go
After
slowly.
that,
They did go slowly. So that's a.
I mean, he's not
like
like clearly physically dragging her across. The
that is a better usage of.
I'm talking about after they're already across the street.
Yeah, and yanks away.
Well, yeah, he tries. Like you can clearly see him trying to run, and she pulls on his arm, and then he yanks.
I think
and
that's when
then he starts booking down the fucking street.
I think that's when he got the phone back or in full possession. And once he got the phone back, that was his whole goal. And he's like, I'm out because that's whatever. And once again,
also, I'm Johnathan Majors. I can dick down whoever the fuck I want.
Exactly. He's being a bad boyfriend and he's being a bad guy, but he's not being an abuser in that situation. So there's a situation. It's just a bummer.
Abuse is never acceptable in any form. It doesn't matter whether it's mental or physical. It doesn't matter whether it's coming from male or female. Anybody who doesn't corroborate with those fucking gender spectrums. Abuse is abuse and it should never be tolerated. But telling somebody that they are losing their job for trying not to get abused is a little bit of a wild one.
It's going to be tough to. So I think Disney did the smart thing in this situation by separating themselves for now. Let them have a good look of like, hey, we released, but give it enough time. Give him the opportunity to.
So it's the James Gunn situation all over again.
Give him enough opportunity. They're essentially, for all we know, this is Disney giving him. They rehearsed him for all we know. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, we're gonna on paper separate, but we're still gonna be talking. You know what I mean? So because think about it. What was everyone's first question when he got fired? No, there was no immediate replacement of Kang. Because they're still keeping the door open because they genuinely believe that right now,
or they're going to shift massively, which I don't see them. I don't see them course correcting.
I think the only thing
there's enough time to figure it out and potentially not have to shift. So they're biding time for now to see what happens. Essentially, they're literally trying to savor the public eyes for now because their property is already down and
damaged. Yeah,
you know what I mean. So having this is just going to make it worse. So I think it was a smart move to not 100%. I think there's a world where he could come back. I genuinely still believe it. And
Tato, we didn't mean to cut you off. What were you trying to say, bro?
Tato, what are your thoughts? The MCU. What do you think?
Yeah. Just that they changed the working titles for Avengers 5 and 6.
Yeah, but that doesn't change. You know what I mean? Once again, working titles still. I still genuinely they put themselves in a position where 2 years down the road, people are going to be like, oh, if think about it. In a year from now, if you don't 100% hate Johnathan Majors, you probably are so 50-50 that if people are like, hey, it ended up being not that bad, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that whatever. You know, I figure there's a way that time will heal.
I primarily know him from Creed 3, Lovecraft Country, which they showed the end of Loki. And I wasn't a giant fan of a lot of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. He wasn't bad in the movie. He hasn't been bad in anything that I've personally seen him act in. Is like it goes back to what was being said earlier. Is being a good actor going to be the saving grace for somebody who has ultimately been disgraced like that? Like, no, it's not. Obviously, it fucking shouldn't be. Has it happened and has it been perpetuating in Hollywood for a very long time? Yes, we all know people, actors, producers. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Harvey Weinsteins of the fucking world, being terrible fucking individuals. And they're just now getting their comeuppance. Do I think that this is personally, in my opinion, do I think that this is in that same category, in that same boat? Absolutely not. And I think this is an overreaction to a protection of a brand that has already kind of been taking a hit over the last decade because they haven't been able to come up with any fucking original ideas. I'm looking at you, House of Mouse. You ain't really had anything that's fucking original in more than 25 years. You just want to do remakes and fucking reboots. Get your shit together.
Or bland new stories.
Yeah, new stories.
Yeah. I mean, they're based on comic books, so they're not new, but they're telling us new story, but they're not that great for a reason because they're bland. They're right. So yeah. All right, let's see how this ends up, and then we can finish our overall opinions. But this is, I'm glad we're shining this light.
Again, I know what happened. Movies don't matter. Work don't matter. Yale education doesn't matter. In that moment, what I felt was, oh, I'm nothing.
Throughout the trial,
By the way,
Major's
shout out
girlfriend,
Megan Good.
actress Megan Good, was right by his side. She was also
Shout
present
out to
for
that
our
beret.
conversation. You've mentioned Megan a few times.
Yeah.
We've seen her right by your side, going in and out of court throughout the whole trial.
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship?
It's a miracle. She's an angel. She's held me down like a Coretta, you know. I'm so blessed to have her, you know.
Notice he
The
didn't play like a
relationship
Michelle.
is still fresh, but you know, I think I found her. Yeah.
The one.
I hope she just stick with me.
Major's career as a rising Hollywood actor is now in limbo. Future appearances playing Kang the Conqueror in the Marvel Cinematic Universe have been scrapped. You hear the verdict
Yeah.
the same day Marvel drops you. Your reaction?
Same hour. Same half hour, I think. It's like the world stopped.
Mm.
You know, it's like you work so hard for things. And then, you know, it's done, you know? And in that same breath, I thought, man, that was cool.
How so?
I was a supervillain, you know? And I got to play multiple characters, you know, with a group of people that really cared nothing about anything else except making really cool movies and giving their actors whatever they need.
I like he's just being himself right now.
Tell those stories. And I'm so proud of it.
You think you'll ever work in Hollywood again?
Yeah, I do. I pray I do. But it's God's plan and God's timing.
For those who say, look, he's convicted at this point.
It's over.
What would you say? I mean, do you deserve a second chance?
Well, I think I do. I think I think I do. I hope other people think that.
Majors is set to be sentenced next month, but says he and his legal team plan to appeal.
All right. Final thoughts just on the interview. Tato, I'll start with you. What are your just overall thoughts?
All right, so the dude clearly has issues. Who among us doesn't? This strikes me as a situation where maybe both parties in the relationship do suck a bit, and should probably have not been together. I do have the yuck on the way he put her back in the car. Fucking, like, I don't want to judge or anything, but it feels like he definitely could have gotten away from her with less injury to her. There was shit going on in the car that we couldn't see. I don't think he grabbed her finger and fucking snapped it on some major pain shit or anything like that, but he probably did accidentally break her finger, give her the cut behind her ear in that physical altercation. That's probably what happened.
And you got to think about it. He's a big ass motherfucker. To him just reaching for his phone in her hand, it could have happened. But once
exactly,
again, that's the intentional harm thing. That is that conviction word. You know,
and the candle situation, like, yeah. So the dude probably has anger issues, and the way he's phrasing that he's never struck a woman, like maybe he did strangle the shit out of her at some point too, like outside of this situation, like there's enough that I've seen and based on the way he is talking to give me the yuck on the man. Like I don't like the way he handled that situation. But again, fucking situations be crazy and shit. And I do believe in second chances. He probably will get a second chance in Hollywood. It doesn't strike me as like he's maybe he's not a terrible person. It doesn't strike me as he's a super good dude. That's for sure. Like, super good people don't end up in this situation at all usually. So, and like the way he's talking, like about her, like the whole, like maybe it is a failed analogy, but like, yeah, just big, yeah, give me, I'm getting the yuck on the dude.
All right, so if you were Disney, and whatever, say a year goes by, whether Kang or not, would you bring him back, or are you 100% done for you?
I guess I would just have to read the room at the time, probably. I would say right now I would lean towards done.
I'll follow up to make it easier in terms of just the room. So they said he's going to be sentenced next month or whatever. So say they were able to get the appeal and he's able to avoid jail time. No jail time, maybe probation, yada, 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 but no actual jail time. Does that affect it anyway?
Let's see, a year down the line, we're in 2025. We're 5 months before Avengers 5 is supposed to come out.
Exactly. Probably right around the time shooting is starting. So that's why
it's
a year down the road.
It's going to be a no from me, dog. Going to be a no from me.
Okay. All right, Jay, what is your overall opinions on that entire interview?
There are certain things that are said in this interview, and just the way that they might be said are not necessarily concerning. They don't give me the yick. They don't give me the yuck. It's not the way that I'm used to speaking. Yeah. So like, I'm not gonna say anything on that. I think a lot of the evidence that's presented there kind of speaks for itself. Do I think that he should be back? Yeah. You know, we paused, we talked about it a little bit. Do I think that he will be back? I give it more of a positive than I give it a negative. But like Disney MCU, Disney Marvel has not made the best decisions in the last little while when it comes to casting. Do I think that his career is over? No, I don't. I think just the caliber of actor that the man is like, will he have to take a little while off? Yeah. Can he do that? Absolutely. But like, do I think that he's cooked? No.
All right. So a follow up for you, based on this case, pre this interview, but given all the information that was given in the interview for the trial case, would you have fired him?
No, personally, no, because if I'm a portion of a studio and I have to look at what an individual's character is, and I see and I hear, and I'm going to bring it up again, everything it is that Amber Heard did to Johnny Depp or what they did to each other in that toxic ass relationship that they were a part of, she still got to be in Aquaman 2. Was that a punishment from the courts? I don't know. I don't know how the judge feels.
Did they see the script ahead of time?
Yeah,
and but that's jail time. Aquaman 2, bitch.
but that's my thing. Is it's like, cool. You have a woman who is essentially accused of just about the exact same shit, with the exception of we know that she is the result. She is the end reason why Johnny Depp lost a tip of his finger, which is more than a broken finger. I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna compare like losing a finger versus getting a middle finger broken, and feces. And shitting in beds is completely
dog
fucking
weighed
different.
2 pounds. There's no way the dog could have.
My duck stepped on a bee. But like there's so much shit that happened that could be comparable, and the white person gets to keep their job. Like personally, I would have been like, no, I don't think Johnathan Majors.
Hold on. I
is-
will add on to that the white female, which is
Yeah, the
in
white
our-
female
yeah.
got to keep her job.
It's just
But
it's just a tough time for this
Yeah.
situation, which is ironic. So I will say that this situation, regardless of the facts and the overall opinions, it is a downfall of just the racism that the black man's always going to be down in. Just obviously three white men saying this, but it's just facts that we're able to be impartial and show that because Johnathan Majors as a big black man, it just automatically is going to have that negative, that it's a weighted situation no matter what. It's automatically an uphill battle, and that's why what he said about being shot down the street, if the roles were reversed 1,000%, if he was chasing her, he's dead. Like there's no interview, there's no firing from Disney, there's death. He's DOA.
Yeah, there's bullets being thrown down range.
So I do 100%.
The way people perceive shit.
Yeah. And I 100% agree that's how that situation been handled. So I agree with you in the situation of like it's a shame that we'll never live in an unbiased world, regardless. Facts can be facts, but opinions rule the world, and that's why I keep mentioning the headline stuff, because like no matter what is presented to you, you can never be unbiased. And that's from anyone, even from me, we're always gonna have biases that's going to hinder our ability to truly see a situation as it is, because we are always going to have those glasses on, no matter what. Even if it's just a 1% tint, 1% could be the difference of jail, no jail, fired, not fired, hit, not hit, scratch. You know what I mean? So accident, not accident. You know what I mean? So it's a shame. And just to wrap up my opinion, I genuinely think that he put himself in, like what he said, he put himself in too many positions for it even to be questionable. Putting her in the truck or in the car, 100%, he did that. The amount of force used and the results of that, we'll never truly know the one for one in the actual evidence of seeing him put his hand on her. But being in a situations where they're clearly yanking for the phone, like Tato said, I 100% finger out jammed. He's so big and she's so tiny. If you see pictures, she's skinny. You know what I mean? She's tiny. You know what I mean? So even if it was incidental, so I 100% understand the jury's like incidental, but still the full charges of like Jay said, enough to lose your job and lose your career. I still don't think that it was enough. And I was saying this even just from hearing the situation, just even when I was interpreting the headlines, just because I just know that if the headlines are gray, then there's more. Like I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, I want to be proven wrong. I want all the facts. I don't just guilty upon arrival, not happening. I want to hear the facts, and it's just a shame that that's just not how society works. So we'll see what happens with Johnathan Majors. I genuinely think that it would be smart for Disney to bring him back, because it gives Disney the backbone to say, hey, we stand beside him, even if they're able to use it to some sort of stupid white collar, smart men in business suits, like we're gonna fix him type of bullshit. Even if they're able to, somehow make them look good in the situation, we're giving second chances. We're giving the black man a second, however they want to phrase it. Yeah. I figure there's a narrative that they can spin to make them look better than they are, while in reality they're just saving the tank that is the MCU right now, and that they're their property. And even if he doesn't get back into Marvel, I 100% know that Johnathan Majors will be back working. Unfortunately, like we were talking about at the beginning with comedy is more independent in the sense of selling tickets is based on the audience showing up, whereas being movies, you have to be in the movies to get people to show up. But with that said, I do think that Johnathan Majors will be back in movies. How big, we don't know, but by the time he's dead, we're going to see him in at least one more blockbuster. I can guarantee that. Regardless of the property, he'll be in at least one more. He's too talented. Obviously, barring any future incidents. So I will say that, because barring any future incidents. But I will say there's also two sides of tango. He's been with Megan, even if it's all, whether it's a planted relationship, it's a fake just to make him look good, showing like, hey, I was in a relationship with her and I haven't hit her. Or maybe he's really in a relationship, he hasn't hit her. So it also, maybe that's the case. Maybe she was just crazy, and it's the old thing like Bill Burr's bit, you until you snap. You know what I mean? I'm not justifying it, but once again, it takes two to tango. So even though we can all agree Johnathan Majors isn't great, he might not be that bad. So let's give him time to rewrite his narrative, and we'll see what happens a year down the road and on. So yeah, I think we can end it there. A little longer one. Obviously, do some editing. I'll get it closer to an hour than than whatever. But Tato, final thoughts.
Yeah, good episode. I was not as super well informed on the cat thing and stuff like that, nor on the majors thing, but it's good to see. I'm glad we got to look at that interview and stuff.
Do you feel more motivated post both situations after the discussion?
Yeah, and I had meant to watch the Shannon podcast. It's just I've got like shit popping off with trying to watch a movie a day and stay trained in the MCU. Shit like that.
Stay trained? I mean, train?
Yeah. But yeah, always good to kick it with the boys. Taking it back.
And Jay, final thoughts.
This is great. I know a lot of, and this is the thing that I love about words. I know a lot of the things that I brought up as kind of like a negative when it comes to Kat, I brought up as a positive when it comes to Johnathan, and it does bring up a little bit of that oh, are you biased in this situation? But no, like not all situations are the exact same. So take what I say with both of them with a grain of salt. It's always great to have a conversation. Hopefully that conversation between all three of us is constructive at the end of the day. And that's what matters the most. Granted, we're going to make dumbass poses and we're going to do stupid shit.
We'll maybe use a little bit of our words out of context for clickbait titles, maybe, but algorithms are good algorithms, so it is what it is. But I'll make sure I'm fair on all that. I'm going to post at least 3 different shorts where all of us say some wild things. But really, if you watch the video,
fuck Johnathan Majors, fuck him up his stupid
there it is.
My name's
He's
Henry
fucking clown shoes.
By the way, did you see his jeans he was wearing? That was one thing when I was watching one of the ones where like,
Yo.
This is not the time to show up with a fashion statement. You should have been in the most Barney of How I Met Your Mother suits. Suit up, baby. He was wearing some fucking, I don't know what he was wearing. That's not the point. My name's Henry Confidential. That is Tato Lore, and that is Jay. Follow him on Twitch, twitchtv.com/Loose Theron. This is the Taking It Back podcast. If you got ass, you can't afford it. See y'all episode 3.
The fuck's a Z job?